The woman who fooled the Nazis. The Gestapo called her one of the most dangerous spies in Europe. They circulated her description across occupied France. They raided safe houses, intercepted messages, captured resistance fighters, and launched one of the largest manhunts of the war. There was just one problem. The woman they were hunting walked with a wooden leg. Most people would assume that a disabled American woman had no place in one of the deadliest intelligence wars in history. The Nazis made the same mistake. And they paid for it. This is the incredible true story of Virginia Hall. The woman who fooled the Nazis. Again and again. Long before she became a spy, Virginia Hall seemed destined for a completely different life. She was born in Baltimore, Maryland, in 1906. Intelligent, ambitious, and determined to see the world. She studied languages, traveled through Europe, and dreamed of becoming a diplomat. For a young American woman at the time, it was an ambitious goal. But Virginia was not someone who accepted limits. At least not yet. Then, in 1933, everything changed. While working at the American Embassy in Turkey, Virginia went hunting. During the trip, her shotgun accidentally discharged. The blast struck her left foot. The injury was catastrophic. Doctors had no choice. Her leg was amputated below the knee. She was only 27 years old. In an instant, her dreams appeared shattered. She spent months recovering. Learning how to walk again. Learning how to live with a wooden prosthetic leg. Many people would have accepted a quieter life. Virginia refused. She named her wooden leg Cuthbert. A small joke that hid a larger truth. She had no intention of surrendering her future. But the world wasn't ready for her determination. When Virginia applied for diplomatic positions, she encountered rejection after rejection. Not because she lacked intelligence. Not because she lacked qualifications. Because she was considered physically disabled. Doors closed. Opportunities vanished. And the career she had spent years pursuing seemed permanently out of reach. Then World War II began. Germany invaded Poland. Europe descended into chaos. Entire nations collapsed beneath Nazi armies. Millions of lives changed forever. Virginia watched from the sidelines. And once again, she refused to stay there. If the diplomatic world didn't want her, she would find another way to serve. In 1940, she traveled to France. At first, she worked as an ambulance driver. It was dangerous work. German forces were advancing rapidly. Cities were falling. Refugees filled the roads. Yet Virginia remained calm under pressure. She always had. But driving ambulances was only the beginning. Because someone was watching. British intelligence. They noticed her courage. Her language skills. Her ability to move through dangerous environments without attracting attention. Most importantly, they noticed her determination. Soon, Virginia Hall received an offer. Not from a military commander. Not from a diplomat. From British intelligence. She accepted. And stepped into a world of secrets, codes, and deception. The world of espionage. At the time, occupied France was one of the most dangerous places in Europe. The Nazis controlled cities, roads, railways, and communications. Resistance fighters operated in constant fear. One mistake could mean arrest, torture, or execution. Virginia entered that world willingly. She became one of the first female agents sent into occupied France. Her mission sounded simple. Build resistance networks. Gather intelligence. Help sabotage German operations. The reality was far more dangerous. Every meeting could be a trap. Every stranger could be an informant. Every knock on the door could be the Gestapo. Yet Virginia excelled. She organized safe houses, helped resistance fighters escape capture, coordinated intelligence gathering, established communication networks, and slowly built one of the most effective underground operations in occupied France. The Nazis had no idea how much damage a single woman was causing. For months, Virginia moved through cities and villages using false identities. Sometimes she posed as a journalist. Sometimes as a civilian worker. Sometimes as someone entirely different. She constantly adapted. Constantly improvised. Constantly survived. The Gestapo grew increasingly frustrated. Resistance. Attacks were increasing. Intelligence leaks were multiplying. Sabotage operations were becoming more effective. Someone was coordinating these activities. Someone highly skilled. Someone dangerous. Eventually, German investigators began piecing together fragments of information. Again and again, one mysterious figure appeared. A woman. An American. A spy. The Gestapo gave her a nickname. The Limping Lady. They considered her one of the most dangerous Allied agents operating in France. The hunt intensified. Wanted posters appeared. Informants were recruited. Entire networks came under pressure. The walls were closing in. And Virginia knew it. Then disaster struck. Several resistance members were captured. Interrogations followed. The Gestapo moved closer than ever before. Soon, remaining in France became nearly impossible. Virginia received orders to escape. Easy to say. Almost impossible to do. France was occupied. Borders were monitored. German patrols were everywhere. And Virginia had a wooden leg. Most people would have considered the situation hopeless. Virginia Hall was not most people. Her escape route led across the Pyrenees Mountains. One of the most difficult natural barriers in Europe. Steep slopes. Freezing temperatures. Dangerous terrain. Many healthy people struggled to cross them. Virginia crossed them with a wooden leg. Every step was painful. Every mile carried risk. German patrols searched nearby regions. Weather conditions worsened. Yet she kept moving. One step. Then another. Then another. Days later, she reached safety. The escape became legendary. Not simply because she survived. But because of how she survived. The Gestapo had thrown enormous resources into capturing her. And she had escaped through mountains they thought would stop her. But Virginia Hall was not finished. Most people would have considered the mission complete. She had survived. She had escaped. She could have spent the rest of the war safely away from occupied Europe. Instead, she volunteered to return. By now, American intelligence had entered the war. The Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, was recruiting agents. The organization would eventually evolve into the CIA. Virginia joined immediately. Many officials still worried about her disability. Some doubted whether she should be sent back into the field. Others recognized something obvious. She was one of the best agents available. Eventually, Virginia got what she wanted. Another mission. Another chance to return. Another opportunity to fight. In 1944, she secretly re-entered France. This time, the risks were even greater. The Gestapo already knew her name. Already knew her face. Already wanted her captured. If discovered, she would almost certainly be executed. Virginia responded with a disguise. She altered her appearance. Dyed her hair. Changed her clothing. Adopted a new identity. At times, she even disguised herself as an elderly peasant woman. German officers often looked directly at her and saw nothing unusual. That was her greatest weapon. Not guns. Not explosives. Invisibility. People underestimated her. Again and again. And every time they did, she gained another advantage. As Allied forces prepared for D-Day, Virginia's importance grew dramatically. She coordinated resistance groups, organized supply drops, directed sabotage operations, helped disrupt German communications. Rail lines were damaged. Military movements were delayed. Information flowed to Allied commanders. Many of those operations succeeded because of networks Virginia helped build. The woman the Nazis couldn't catch was helping prepare occupied France for liberation. Meanwhile, the Gestapo continued searching. Reports arrived. Rumors spread. Investigators chased leads. But Virginia always seemed one step ahead. The war eventually turned against Germany. Allied armies advanced. Occupied territories were liberated. The Nazi Empire began to collapse. And Virginia Hall survived it all. When the war ended, many heroes returned home to public celebrations. Virginia's experience was different. Much of her work remained secret. Many details could not be discussed. Many achievements could not be publicly recognized. The nature of espionage demanded silence. Yet within intelligence circles, her reputation was extraordinary. She had built resistance networks. Escaped one of the most intense manhunts of the war. Returned to occupied territory. And helped prepare the way for Allied victory. All while carrying a wooden leg. Years later, her contributions became more widely known. Historians examined wartime records. Former resistance fighters shared memories. Intelligence files were declassified. The picture that emerged was remarkable. Virginia Hall had become one of the most successful Allied spies of World War II. Not despite her disability, but while carrying it into every mission. Perhaps that is what makes her story so powerful. History often celebrates people who appear larger than life. People born with extraordinary advantages. Virginia Hall was different. She faced obstacles at nearly every stage of her journey. Physical limitations. Professional rejection. Constant danger. Relentless enemies. And yet she kept moving forward. The Nazis spent years hunting her. They had armies, police forces, intelligence networks, informants, resources beyond imagination. Virginia Hall had a wooden leg, a forged identity, and an iron will. In the end, that was enough. Today, her name is not as famous as many wartime leaders. Yet few individuals did more to challenge Nazi control from within occupied Europe. Few took greater risks. And fewer still escaped as many times as she did. The Gestapo called her one of the most dangerous spies in Europe. History remembers her for something even greater. She proved that courage has nothing to do with physical strength. Nothing to do with appearances. And nothing to do with what others believe you can accomplish. Because one of the most effective spies of World War II was the woman everyone underestimated. Including the Nazis.